What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Hello there, buffer timers. Today we're going to talk about KHAAAAN, or Wrath of Darkness. I don't know. I'm unclear. There's a movie. We're gonna talk about it. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek.
I'm Scott of Opinions No One Cares About.
I'm Josh and/or Windgrace.
My name is Vanessa, and I host a YouTube channel called I Love Bad Star Trek.
And I'm Ren from Ren Rants.
You love bad Star Trek? I want to know about the Star Trek. This story is going to be way more interesting than
Cyber
this thing
Star Trek.
Is that the truck that they find in the Delta Quadrant in the 37th?
And immediately falls apart. Immediately.
Is it a sequel to the game Galaxy Trucker?
Looks like we got us a convoy.
A great big convoy?
Riding through the
So we actually have a piece of news. We haven't had anything. It's not a good piece of news, but it is not unexpected in any way. Netflix has refused to pick up Prodigy for season 3. Now, it is not officially canceled, but it means Netflix will not be handling it. The team that put it together has basically all moved on to other projects, and it is very unlikely that we get a season 3 of Prodigy.
She's dead in the water, folks.
So
the last show,
it's
we're
an
still getting like a
unfortunate
20
thing
episode
because
season.
It's like the only, as far as I can tell, the only iteration of Kurtzman Trek show that has bothered to make a continuous story throughout, and is like, I know that it's billed as a kid's show, but I think storytelling wise it's the best one, and it's been treated like
Easily.
absolute garbage.
it was the kids show I didn't know I needed in my life. It's definitely the best modern Trek, and it's too bad that it's just been passed around.
So now we're down to 2, right? Stranger Worlds and Academy are the only officially continuing things.
Yep. Academy.
Allegedly, there's promising whispers about Legacy, but nothing official yet.
No. Yeah, and supposedly we're going to get another one of
Yeah,
these
right.
JJ movies too, but I
I
will
hope
not
not.
hold my breath for that.
It's
Nor would I
just
want
not
it.
necessary.
It's been almost as long since the last of these movies as the entire run of the TOS 6 movies. So it's been too long, guys.
Yeah.
Unless
It'd be
we
one
do,
thing if the last 2 movies were like so good that I could be like, yes, where is this story going to go next? I will take anything they'll give me, but they're not, so.
it would only make sense outside of the Kelvin timeline, I think. They would have to do something completely different and like weave in the current shows or something.
Unless they're planning to like use it to close the Kelvin universe or something. But even then it would still be more fan servicey than telling a good story.
James K is correct. If we got a 4th season of Picard
Again?
or even a Legacy, they would bring back the Borg. Absolutely.
Outside
Actually,
the
I
box
kind of think
thinking.
they should like really
Yeah.
bring them back, like show them actually revitalized after what Janeway and like from the future did to them.
Or, the new Borg Queen iteration that went nowhere. Like from
And whatever that thing was that opened up, and they're like, oh, well, we'll be the Guardian at the gate.
Right?
because they were going to ally themselves with the Federation and Starfleet. So it's like that would have been really cool.
Yeah.
So since we've been accused of being too quiet at times and having too much downtime in between our talking, I want to have a moment of silence for the loss of attention spans here. And we will move into the other thing that we have been accused of from time to time recently on some of these movies, that we don't talk positive enough. So my first question about Into Darkness, with so little to like in the movie, what are the positives that actually work?
Bones is in top form with his little metaphors in this movie. Zachary Quinto's a much better Spock than this particular series of movies deserves. I like Simon Pegg Scotty, and I liked his principled opposition to the torpedoes. I thought that was kind of Star Trek and cool, except for unfortunately him getting shut down and trampled all over with that. But
Yeah.
Something that all three of the Kelvin universe movies will inevitably end up doing, and I know they're the first ones that are actually able to do it, but incorporating at least minimally things from Enterprise to show a consistency in the universe for the first time.
Yeah, it was nice to see the NX-01 in that list of that row of models in Admiral Robocop's office.
I also heard that we
Considering he was
don't
in it.
speak quickly enough. So, yeah, I enjoyed the lack of shaky cam and quick cuts, even though there's still lens flare. It's easier, it's like
Lens
I'm
flare.
less motion sick.
I love the use of Dory from Finding Nemo there. Thank you.
This isn't Star Trek 4.
For me, I think one of the best things, even though she does not roll a success on her speech challenge, I like that they gave Uhura something to do.
Agreed.
In like all of the movies, Uhura does not get a lot to do. She got to fan dance in Final Frontier. Pretty much it. So to have her actually like go out here and do some real linguistics, I like that a lot.
That's fair.
yeah, it would have been cooler if it was successful at all.
And she's not in a mini skirt. She's in a practical outfit for the mission, which is nice. I'm not like, I know that this movie is not above objectifying, as we'll get into later, but like it was nice to see that someone on a mission isn't like halfway naked or whatever.
Oh.
But halfway naked can be fun. So I guess that will call the question, is the Carol Marcus in her underwear scene gratuitous or completely on brand for Trek?
It can be both. I think gratuitousness is unfortunately often on brand for Trek in its portrayal of female characters, but like I do feel like this is particularly excessive. Just the whole framing of it is very silly and totally unnecessary and just like, wow. It feels like condescending to the audience almost, because it's like, hey, here are some boobies. Do you like boobies, right? They make you like movies? Because boobies.
But she's a super smart scientist woman, too.
Yes. Which is why they shouldn't need to show us her boobies.
The banner, Scott.
I didn't like, and I hadn't really noticed it or thought about it until this pseudo watch through that I did. That she's a weapons expert. Like, I don't think we'd ever heard that before. Like, the Genesis device, I always just thought, okay, it's encased in a torpedo because that's what makes sense for delivery. But she's just a scientist. She's not a weapons expert that we know of in the Prime universe. So I kind of didn't like that to go from a character that just wants to create and build and like just, oh, well, now I'm a weapons designer. Oh, cool.
What's really interesting is that there's like kind of a line that gets said by one of the characters, and it's very kind of under the radar and never really expanded on, but they mention that this plot, this overarching plot, is done with the goal of militarizing Starfleet, right? And it's like, from the looks of it, it's already there in the Kelvin timeline. So it makes perfect sense to me that they would have a military for, you know.
She did.
Sexy Oppenheimer or whatever.
Sexenheimer.
Let's move that to sexy. What am I thinking of?
Keenzer?
What? No, what Benedict Cumberbatch is famous for playing? Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, Sherlock Holmes.
I was just saying sexy Sherlock Holmes.
Sexy Smaug.
Sherlock.
Is Benedict Cumberbatch the worst casting decision in all of Star Trek? Wrong clip.
That depends. When you tell me what's worse right now, anything?
Modern Kirk comes in pretty close, but he's not even. Paul Wesley isn't even this bad. I know Benedict Cumberbatch can act, so I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I don't know who could have saved this role. Is there somebody out there, like, beyond the fact that he's a white guy playing an Indian guy that was and the guy was originally played by a Hispanic dude, like,
the layers.
It's so weird. It's so weird all the way through.
I mean, you get more leeway from the 60s.
It's like the fact that he was in this movie at all. Like, he could have been literally any other guy.
Yeah, which is, I think, why they hired him.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to so hide the fact that Khan was going to be in it that they're like, we cast the complete opposite. Just kidding, it's Khan.
They were really excited about the reveal. Like, you can tell they were, like, really stoked about this. And it just falls so completely flat. And I agree. I'm not sure, like, it could have been really salvaged by better casting. But, like, you know, it couldn't have hurt.
Yeah, I just don't think the character in this movie would have worked even if they had somehow brought Ricardo Montalban back.
Right. It's a twofold problem.
Oh, God.
One is just the casting. He's not right for the part, and it was a badly written role. I mean, they took one of the best villains in all of Star Trek, and the movie is lacking so hard they had to add another villain in the bad role. Neither one of them are any good. That is the biggest problem with these JJ movies. All of the villains suck.
Yeah.
Until we get to next week.
That's my least. Oh, Nero might be. I don't know. It's either him or Nero.
Like, I kind of enjoy the idea of a corrupt Starfleet admiral using somebody for their own military ends. You could sort of hear the foreshadowing screamed at you throughout this movie. Like, it's really super poorly constructed, but, like, I feel like this idea done better would have been kind of interesting.
I feel like we've already done this better.
That's true.
With, like, the Cardassian episode, you know which one I'm thinking of. The one where the fucking admiral's trying to... I love that episode. I don't know why I can't think of the name, but where the admiral's, like, trying to, suspect that... Is it Ensign Rowe that happens in with the one with the Cardassian standoff, basically, where the Cardassians, like, are totally lying about the weapons they're smuggling.
Oh, the Wounded.
Oh, in DS9.
Thank you. Yes. Oh my God. I don't know why I couldn't.
That was Captain Pressman.
Yes,
I think.
Yeah.
No, Captain Maxwell.
It is Maxwell.
Yes, Maxwell.
Yeah, but it's, like, basically just done way better, where, like, his motivations are way more understandable, and you see where he's coming from because he's actually right. But also, like, the principles that Starfleet stands for are more important than this particular conflict, and it's really good. And instead we get this.
Also, like, the Starfleet that we see in the Federation as it's shaped in these movies doesn't seem aspirational. Like, it doesn't look like a thing that I would, sort of utopia future that I would want to live in, because it looks like crap is happening and war is happening all the time.
It feels like it is a product of the way the military invests in Hollywood movies to subtly make them into military propaganda has really like leaked into this movie in terms of like, I don't know, just the amount of guns that you see and just the amount of like scenes where people are like shooting at each other and like just all of this kind of like weird like underlying like Federation exceptionalism vibes to it. Like the way the Klingons are nothing in this movie except for a threat, with no nuance whatsoever. Like the jingoistic undertones to that. Like the whole thing, it's just like bad.
They kind of want to have it both ways. But also remember, like in the TOS era, Klingons were seen as the enemy, sort of flatly.
Totally.
Yeah.
But this was made in 2013 and had an opportunity to do something more interesting, and they didn't. Like, we could have had a single good Klingon in the movie, right? Like, a single Klingon that's a character in the movie.
Like, they kind of want to have it both ways, like, timeline-wise, where they want to have, like, the TOS era bad Klingons, but they also want to have the Kelvin burst where they can rewrite the rules however they want. So...
Speaking of the rules, why is Kirk determined to break the rules so much? And I'll tie this also into the question of how does breaking the Prime Directive in the intro compare to other times that we've broken the Prime Directive? Kirk, Prime Directive, breaking, go.
I almost get it because, Pike came along and recruited him because he was a rule breaker, but like he was impulsive and untamed, and that was what Starfleet needed. And now he's actually a part of Starfleet and a captain, and they're coming down on him for breaking the rules so often. So even the genius level intellect that is Kirk doesn't understand why they've suddenly flipped on him like that.
I'm a loose cannon Starfleet captain who doesn't play by the rules.
See, I thought it was just because whoever was writing him only watched Wrath of Khan and said, oh, he cheated on the Kobayashi Maru. That's a character trait.
Oh.
Like Kirk in TOS, and I know this is Kelvin burst, so whatever, but like in TOS, he's not like, I'm just going to do whatever I want, whenever I want. That's a really boring, because if you do that, if you let every impulse be something you act on, then that's not a very interesting character. That's just a toddler, Also, with this particular breaking of the Prime Directive, it didn't look like they were making, except for like being underwater, that they were making any sort of attempt to maintain cover once Spock was in danger. There's no other way to handle this.
But what was the plan to get the ship out of the water originally? Clearly, they were still going to have to fly up out of the ocean at some point.
They'll do it at night. It'll be fine. How'd they get down there without being seen?
Cut their way.
They'll just like it's like submarine. They'll just like they'll go a ways and then they'll come up away from the village.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
like the best way that they could think of, everything just seems so arranged last second. Like the best way they could think of to move people to safety was to steal an artifact and draw them out of the village. There was no other way to do that. None.
I like that there was no better way to like deploy this technology to like do whatever to the volcano. Like they just had to drop Spock like in the volcano. There's no way to like prep this beforehand and like use like we don't have drones. You have transporters, but you don't have like drones that could maybe do that. No.
Yes, they've established you can transport things onto a ship traveling at warp speed at this point. Pretty sure you can put something on the inside of a volcano.
One would think.
That was a really pretty scene.
Or a photon torpedo
it is a
or
gorgeous
anything.
movie.
It was an interesting choice for a planet.
As far
It
as
was very
this
alien looking.
versus
Why are you trying
other
to save
ones,
this race?
I always feel like this is definitely better than it kind of feels like a makeup for the Nikolai and Worf's brother and that planet that got destroyed just because we got to follow the Prime Directive, can't let we have to let this entire planet die. So
What
I do actually like that about this movie.
what I sort of despise about the visual shorthand, it's like they have to make it like in as short a time as possible, make it clear that they're not ready to be contacted. So they put them in body paint and they have spears and things. Like it's just really like it's racist without going there explicitly.
And this is definitely better than Kirk reading the Constitution. This is way better than that time. I hate the Omega Glory.
And is anybody going to come back to this planet at some point and find out they're worshiping, I don't know, probably just the Enterprise as a god? Because it seemed like they were.
This is an extension of the Enterprisians from Prodigy.
The Kelvin Enterprisians.
I hate that episode so much.
This would have been better with a dune buggy. They should have just rolled up in the dune buggy and grabbed their sacred text and rolled off with it.
And they could have found another version of Brent Spiner in there too.
Like temple robbing.
You're not a fan of the ugly CGI animal that was allegedly their ride?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
I also love that, like, not even a minute into the movie, and you already get a jumping off a cliff. Like,
They love it. They love Kirk and his little clips to show what a loose cannon Starfleet captain who doesn't play by the rules he is.
God damn it, McGarnagle. You're a loose cannon. You don't play by the rules.
and there
I'm going to
wouldn't
take
have been,
your badge.
like that sort of like car chase scene in the other movie was such a waste, because then we could have gotten some sort of motivation as to what drives him to be a rebel. Rebelling against what? For what? Like, what's the point? You're doing a job and you like broke the number one rule. What do you think is going to happen?
What do you mean there are consequences for my actions? How dare?
Not when you're a Kirk.
So speaking of the consequences to the actions, the next scene, here's a fun little question. How do we feel about the dress uniforms from the Kelvin universe?
No. What the hell is this?
Not
This
really
looks
a
like
fan.
Empire stuff. Star Trek or Star Wars Empire stuff.
Yeah, a little Hugo Boss 1939 flair for sure.
I would
What?
like to know what led them to this decision. Like, it's so drab. And, you know, again, the military comment, like, this is visually strongly suggesting that. I don't remember a word of diplomacy being uttered in this whole movie. So it's like, what is their goal exactly?
If Star Trek wasn't a space navy before, it definitely is now. I mean, that's the only thing you compare. It's just a naval uniform.
I don't understand how anyone says Starfleet isn't the military.
That's a good call, James K. Spaceballs meets Beat Cop. Yep. Correct. Meets official Navy uniform. Yep.
Like, they even have that sort of like stereotypical like buddy cop movie thing where they have like the captain that's like, oh damn it, not again, you know, that whole
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And Pike's that police captain in this one.
He's probably one day from retirement when he got killed.
God damn it, Kirk, you gotta play by the rules.
Should have asked for his badge and his phaser.
He was one day away from being demoted to captain so that he could be back in the big chair, actually. But that's what he kind of wanted too.
Gotta reinstate me, RoboCop.
So that brings me to another good question. Which fate is worse for Pike, the beep chair or death by Khan in this movie?
Well, in the end of the beep chair, he gets to go to an imaginary world where he's not in the beep chair. So I think that's preferable to like dying sad, scared, and alone, as Spock assessed.
Yeah.
He didn't, though. I mean, he ended up with the, what were they? The
Telosian.
Telosians.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah,
had
that's what I'm
Lena.
saying.
With a pretty decent life.
Lena was all
Yeah,
scarred
this is-
up, but she had a fake visage going on.
Right. I mean, but if you can be whoever you want to be on that planet because of them, then that's great. That's a great way to spend your
Hey,
your
you're just
days.
chilling on holodeck
Yeah.
planet.
This sort of skirts into like a bioethical question of quality of life. And I can only imagine if I were in that position, man, smother me with a pillow for the beep chair. I'd rather get shot. Thank you.
There actually
to
is
answer
a
your
third
question-
option for Pike. Oh,
To answer your question, Shereese, yeah, there was, but then it was in Equality of Mercy, and Spock died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh no, he
yeah,
didn't die.
alright.
He was just mortally like messed up.
Right.
Yeah.
He lost his
Well, yeah, I
brain.
think he went on.
Oh no, but they died at the end of Quality of Mercy. The Romulans wiped them out. Not like the old self of him coming back, but at the end of that episode,
yeah.
the Romulans
Yeah.
wiped him out pretty much. They called their bluff. I think the third option for Pike, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good one. I was going to say the third option for Pike is almost certainly in the mirror universe. Kirk probably assassinated him to gain command.
That's a good point. I'm sure there's one reality out there where he retired to Ryza and opened like a private detective agency. Just had some fun.
I buy that for $1.
Has Uhura replaced Kirk's relationship with Spock in the Kelvin universe?
Well, since he barely seems to have a relationship with Spock, I suppose.
I did kind of feel like their friendship developed a little bit, but
Only because they said so. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
movie, they said we're friends.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not like
okay.
literally all the TOS movies where their friendship builds just a little bit each movie.
How long is this supposed to be after the first movie?
Can't be long. I mean, I would guess it's a year or two, but I don't know actually.
I don't know. I thought TOS established Kirk and Spock's relationship pretty solidly prior to that. You know, they were flirting. I remember there was that one beat where Kirk asked for a back rub and Spock almost like, went in for the kill, but somebody else did instead. But in the movies, it's like Spock is sort of like an instructor. And like they're just sort of maliciously complying with being in the same room together. It's not the bond that it is in TOS. So
Well, they're rebuilding a new Spock in half of the movies.
Yeah.
Technically.
Like
I
the
forgot they also
go ahead.
dragged Leonard Nimoy into this one is all I was gonna say. For his little old Spock cameo.
I just felt like the emotional intimacy that they had prior has been sort of, they're like, ew, guys having a friendship that close, that's gross. We got to have a chick in here. And thank God Uhura does something other than bicker with Spock.
just barely.
Well, not just one chick. They had to throw Carol Marcus in there, so there's two chicks.
Yeah.
See, they're
Don't wanna-
definitely not gay. Look, boobies, boys.
Look, no, and Kirk hooked up with the twins with tails. So I mean, he's so not gay.
To Beastie
Yeah.
Boys, come on, like turn
Unvital.
shit off.
Freaking hipster.
Yeah, wait. You said do they have multiple tails? Are those supposed to be Caitians, or
Yeah,
are
I
they
think
like
they're
another
Caitians.
race with tails?
Oh, were
It's
they?
hard to
Okay.
tell.
Are they? Because
Hard to tell. They're the Kelvin version of the Caitians.
The Kelvincations.
So given that in TOS, the way Khan was introduced, almost everybody on the senior staff knew like something about Khan. So here, why doesn't anyone know who Khan is?
Well, you see, it's badly written.
No.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's kind of silly because it honestly makes it so that, like, within the story, the reveal means nothing. Like, we, the audience, are like, oh, Khan, we know who that is. And then Kirk's just like, okay.
They could have gone one of two ways. Either they knew a little bit, or they could have played it like Guardians of the Galaxy. And after he says that, they both just go, who?
like, did they just have no knowledge whatsoever of the eugenics wars past a certain point? And also, like, how did he conceal his identity for that long? Like, he was the one that was unfrozen. How was he able to sort of like fly under the radar and just some random name like that?
I
In
guess
this time
Marcus must have
period.
arranged it, but like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the
Still.
background information, the tie-in stuff, they gave him a
Of
complete
course.
new body. So he originally looked like actual
I mean, they
Khan,
have-
and then they're like, "We're going to hide you in some British guy, so nobody knows who you are."
a brilliant ruse, leaving him entirely unrecognizable in the worst way possible.
I mean, I guess in a really morbid sense, when you come down to it, a British guy makes more sense to be cast as an Indian person than a dude from Mexico, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
They just went around. They just had this ridiculous workaround for the entire thing, and like these other human sickles just lying around the whole movie was so
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Well, that's
that
all they
was
had to
funny.
do. I mean, it would have ruined the punch, but just say they woke up one of the other guys and actual Khan was still one of the 72 torpedoes or something. I mean, that
I
would have
like-
ruined the emotional
Right.
punch, I guess, but
It almost feels like they cast Benedict Cumberbatch and then decided to make the villain Khan like afterwards. And they're like, well, we already signed the contract, so oh well.
Like, wouldn't they have his? Now this is getting into nerd gassing, but like they were constantly pulling his blood and testing it or whatever. Wouldn't they run it through like a DNA scan and see like a match from transporter data and see that, oh, it's Khan? Like, that could have been a way they found out rather than Spock spilling the beans.
yeah, or just have a trigger that says, "Hey, this blood's been genetically engineered. That's illegal," or something.
Mm-hmm. What do you think they would have?
So speaking of Khan, is Spock's Khan as earned as Kirk's in The Wrath of Khan?
Man, that's a really tough question. I mean, there's just so many variables to think about, but no.
Kirk was left alone by Khan, and he was venting his frustration in that moment. Spock, on the other hand, is on a ship, and this isn't necessarily directly the fault of Khan, but of the Admiral. Wouldn't he like yell the Admiral's name? I don't know. Like,
Marcus just doesn't roll off the
Marcus! It doesn't have the
tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was much of a
does it
question.
mean?
It's unearned. There's no reason to do this other than to tie it into Star Trek 2.
Hey, you
which is
remember
my-
this much better movie?
Which is my same problem with the next movie, where I know I'll get to that next week, but like, I feel like they just destroy the Enterprise because they destroyed the Enterprise in 3 in the original timeline movies. Because other than that, it just comes out of nowhere and it's really dumb. Same here. Go ahead, Ren.
I feel like this could have been an interesting movie if it wasn't such a bad movie. Like it has these little moments where you're like, "Aw, I would have liked to see these characters in a much better story."
Yeah, if
Movie
they
could
follow
be
their
good
original
if
premise.
it's not bad.
Like, here's a new cast of the TOS people doing completely new things. Like, we reset the world, do whatever you want. Or we could just, I don't know, remake the second movie?
That probably is truly the movie's biggest sin. We set up this whole universe separate from the prime timeline so we can do whatever we want. And what do we do? Try to retell a story that doesn't need to be retold very badly.
Honestly, I actually think this movie is what single-handedly like primed me to dislike Star Trek Discovery. Because I hated that they were like both kind of like darker prequels, And like I feel like poor innocent Discovery like bore a lot of the stink of like the worst JJ movies, and it was really hard to like remove the association because it was only a couple years apart, right?
Yeah, the grim
This came
dark
out in 20
aesthetic is just, it doesn't suit Star Trek at all. It just doesn't. Like there, like you mentioned, there's little glimpses of hope. I really enjoy that Scotty is, there's competency written into his character. There's witticisms written into his character that I think Simon Pegg pulls off wonderfully.
I think that was
There's
him.
like little glimpses of hope. I really enjoy Bones's character too, as Ren mentioned. But like, they have to make everything so like horrifying and kind of. They had a huge sandbox. They built themselves a huge sandbox, and they're just like, yeah, we're just going to pull the old toys into it.
We're not even gonna play in it. We're just gonna smash these toys together really loudly instead of build something more interesting. Like,
But they're gonna light it very well.
It's such an unjustified, like sloppy, lazy action story that doesn't make much sense, doesn't say anything new, doesn't like hit hard emotionally, and like just totally wastes cool characters and like the opportunity at, I don't know, a million different cool premises they could have done instead. It's like, I don't understand why Star Trek is so afraid to just be Star Trek, and I feel like if this movie had just been allowed to be Star Trek, it could have been a really cool movie. But they were so busy being like, okay, we gotta get like Steve and Ashley to the theaters, and we've got to make them care about Star Trek, but we don't want to do that like by making a good movie. We just need a generic action movie to, I don't know, sell popcorn.
They tried to make it into Marvel.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
I think I just realized the perfect analogy for this. We created a new sandbox for the kids to play in, but they're not allowed to play in it because it's too new and they're going to mess it up.
Yep.
So you have 3 adults in there playing with their toys, showing them how to play.
Like,
Yes,
JJ
correct.
is not a wizard
Yeah,
when it comes
right.
to originality. Like, he's just going to, and he said in an
Fill
interview,
seats with butts.
and he also said in an interview with Jon Stewart that he is not a Star Trek fan. He thought it was too heady and too philosophical, and you can see how in this movie that he has stripped Star Trek for parts, essentially.
Yeah, it's like the
Okay.
Marvel and Star Wars version of
That's fair.
Star Trek, and it just deprives it of anything that makes Star Trek unique or appealing, and that's why no one besides us is talking about these movies anymore.
That's a good point.
my
When
God,
do you
I
hear
will
just
be
a
so
regular,
glad when we're done talking about these movies.
like you'll see regular people, no Wrath of Khan or, just Spock in general, but I never hear anyone just casually talking about the Kelvinverse.
No,
Yeah.
of course not. No one cares about this. Starfleet fans care about it to say, wow, this sucks. And regular action fans are just like, these are forgettable action movies that we forgot.
And I love action movies.
That's pretty much it,
I am
yeah.
so into watching things with those flashbang, whatever. I just watched.
I love it. I do love a fiasco. I love a good action movie, but there is a lot of slop. I feel like the action genre, attracts like a unique level of slop just because it's so easy to get caught up in the spectacle. And this is an example of that, where it's like they're so into creating this like spectacle where they need to justify all of these big action beats that there's like no room for like a decent story.
I love a good RoboCop, but you cast RoboCop in this movie, and it's still not a good movie.
And he already played a great Trek villain like 3 years before this.
Yeah, he was great as that last John Frederick Paxton. Is that his name?
Something like that.
Yeah, either way, that was a great role for him.
Like, there's ironically more dialogue in this. Like, there's I think that's where the hope comes from, where they're like, oh, they're actually talking. It's not just like 2 seconds of dialogue and then set piece. There's a little bit more character development going on, but it doesn't really actually go anywhere, unfortunately. But like, I like that there's a little more respite between the action sequences.
Yeah, I can't remember who mentioned earlier that they did away with all of the like the Star Trekky philosophy stuff, but they also did away with any semblance of the. And I know Star Trek's terrible at like real science a lot of the time, anyways, but they did away with any semblance of the science being anything remotely plausible in this too. Like the scene that just made me fall over laughing is when they're like, "We're going to warp, nobody can catch us," and they're like, "Actually, this ship can do like double super extra warp," and then it just flies right in.
One thing that really appeals to me about Trek is like collaborative problem solving. And it just seems like one person makes a executive decision, executes it, and then everybody sort of catches up with trying to figure out like, oh, how do we solve the problem this person created? And that doesn't feel like Star Trek at all to me.
I feel like they tried to do that briefly with Chekhov. In both of these movies, he was kind of like a problem solver for like a scene.
Yeah, for Anton Yelchin.
Yeah, that was a sad way to die. I always felt like it's weird because we know that Chekhov, it even tells you in the first movie that he's 17 years old. And that checks out with TOS where like, you know, he was like real stupid young. And like, but he's being left with the con and in the first movie and then made chief of engineering after like a few days of training with Scotty. Like, okay, great. This makes sense.
Very give Wesley the bridge.
Sure.
I mean, if you can shoot up to captain in a day and then
like there's no other engineers that could possibly do anything. It has to be Chekhov. Like that is so ridiculous.
Well, not named in the credits.
Well, I see Shereese still here, and we're down to like 1 or 2 questions after this. I just want to point out, I'm going to be on Shereese's show here on Wednesday nights. That's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where she talks about Star Trek. And these next 2 weeks, we're, I believe, talking about best captains from different eras. So that's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to just be a spectator and in the gallery of one of these and not hosting it. So that ought to be fun. Check that out. Maybe we'll see some of these other guys here too.
We probably won't see any captains from this movie, however.
Yeah, I think she's just got it set up for the shows. Okay. And that's probably for the best. We don't need to talk about this version of Kirk, I don't think, or this version of Pike. But let's talk about this version of Kirk as far as, does Kirk immediately coming back to life feel like an anticlimax?
Yes.
Correct.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Affirmative.
Oh. Man.
It wasn't even like a Lord of the Rings 5 fake out endings. It was just like, next scene, wake up. It's been 2 weeks, bud.
Yeah.
And we didn't need another movie and a Genesis planet, but still not this.
This could have been a way to definitively separate the Kelvinverse from Prime. Like, they could have killed Kirk and had Spock or somebody else be captain. Like, that would have been interesting, like picking up the pieces. But no, they have to have their golden boy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lack of commitment. They wouldn't even commit to it for a whole movie, you know, like...
Mm-hmm. Could barely commit to it for a whole scene.
Yeah. It's so funny because the movie spends so much time, like, manufacturing all of these nonsense stakes, but in the one moment where they actually have stakes, they're like, lol, JK.
I just hate that it's yet another fountain of youth that's never brought up again. Oh, Bones just basically figured out fucking how to stay alive forever?
Right.
Oh, we're
Like,
not going to bring that up again.
you're right, Shereese. It would upset the fan base. But we're in the Kelvinverse, and if you're not willing to take any risks and shake things up, what are you doing? You're just, all JJ cares about is money, and that made it very clear with like pulling it back and bringing back Kirk, like chicken. They killed Spock. They did not plan on necessarily bringing him back, so it's like it was the fan base that, got in an uproar about it. Why not let that happen here? Why not make the, royal up the fan base and get them wanting Kirk back? Like, do something like that. Why be a chicken?
Yeah, it could have caused a whole thing. Like people could have been speculating, like, oh, Chris Pine was seen on the set of Star Trek 3. Is he going to be in the movie?
Oh my God, right.
Is it just a flashback? Why is he there?
It's just
Surely
Prime
they'll bring
timeline.
Kirk
Kirk
back.
crossed over.
Oh, yeah, it could have been really fun. I would have been really impressed if they had followed through on that. Instead, I and every other fan or like audience member was literally sitting there just like waiting for him to be back by the end of the movie, because of course you knew this movie wasn't going to commit to that. No way in hell.
No, especially after they shoehorned the Tribble thing earlier in the movie, just so you knew, like, oh, we've got something coming up here.
And it's wild because I would have been aghast if the credits rolled and Kirk was still dead. I would have been like, wow, they really did it again. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And then they put him in one of the empty torpedoes from the thing and like shoot him off into something. And,
that would have been so good.
Except they
Set
didn't
up.
set that up, so
All
they've
set
just
up.
been stuck in cryosleep.
It really wouldn't, because it would still bother me to just be more parts of this retelling that we don't need.
Yeah, that's true.
Could have sent him to the
Really-
Exodus planet.
At the same time, I keep saying like, oh, well, we're retelling, and then the next movie, which I mean, I don't want to get too much into, but I mean, the next movie they tell a mostly original story, and I still don't want to watch it.
Yes,
Why
it's
was the
unfortunate
purple in
that
this scene?
these aren't better movies.
But it's something I was saying before we started is I just felt no emotional connection to a single person or thing that happened in this movie. Good, bad, the other. It's just none of it connected at all with anything other than just flash on a screen. Like, oh, things are happening, I guess.
I know, I come out of the movie that this is trying to retell crying almost every time I see it. And this one, it's just like, yep, all right, well, that was a thing I watched. Popcorn was good.
I can't get that 2.5 hours back.
I mean, if this movie ended with every single character on the Enterprise dying, like, forever, I don't know if I still would have cared.
I agree. I mean, plus, I mean, since it's an alternate timeline, yeah, you're never truly invested because there's that prime timeline still like doing its thing.
And like, I actually wish that older Spock wasn't there. Like, what is the point of constantly interjecting about what is the possibility in an alternate timeline? It doesn't matter. None of that matters. Like the
Fair.
Yeah. And even like Spock telling him he's really dangerous. Like, that's something that they could have found out themselves.
It's not like he had a mystery button to press to like deactivate Khan or something, like some hidden thing. It's just like, oh no, he's bad. He's a bad guy. You're gonna want to like deal with that.
Hey, remember when I starred in a much better version of this movie?
And the fact that they had to like overcome plot reasons to talk to him, because the whole thing was they couldn't get messages through, right? Because they were all like being jammed, but then they needed to talk to Spock, so they fixed it.
We've been
that was
jammed.
after Scotty like powered their stuff down conveniently for just enough time to get the plot through.
I feel like old Spock should have been like, by your age, I was captain of the Enterprise.
So the final question I have here, It's probably an easy one, but which is the better looking ship, this squared off version or the Prime Universe rounded Excelsior class?
Round boy, round boy.
Prime Universe, mostly anything. This is not. This and the what is it? The Klingon ships in this, I did not like at all.
This reminds me very much of like the remodeling of Optimus Prime and Transformers. Like everything is much busier and not aesthetically wedded to the original. And it doesn't show any love to the source material. So it's like trying to make it look all, masculine, alpha male, or whatever.
Well, JJ even admitted he redesigned the Enterprise to give the nacelles that extra oomph because the original wasn't sexy enough. It didn't look enough like a hot rod to him. So we had to pump up those nacelles with some silicone or whatever.
Gonna put a supercharger on the saucer section too? I mean, what?
Little
I do like
nitrous.
the black. I think that's kind of cool. Other than that, I don't like the squared off body.
Well, because Section 31, it's got to be black.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the Section 31 ship, isn't it?
I wish that they talked a little bit more about how Section 31 functions in this. Like they have like a secret weapon, but it's like if you're all militarized anyway, why would you even bother with the cover story? I don't understand.
I agree with Norman, by the way. I was also hoping for that in these movies. Unfortunately, this is the last fucking thing Star Trek that Leonard Nimoy got to do before he died.
Oh, that's a bummer.
To what James K asked earlier about whether Shatner being in this movie would have been to its benefit, I don't really see how integrating anything from previous timelines would have helped. I think he really painted himself in a corner by having it in a Kelvin verse.
No, he just doesn't know how to paint other than by numbers, even though they set up a whole universe where they could paint in full fucking oil brush. Except we got like a pile of broken crayons here and paint by numbers of like a bunny. And that's what we got, and not like the beautiful Bob Ross piece that we deserved. On that note, I have no other questions. If you guys have something you want to throw in here, great. If not, I am very happy to go to out of 10s early.
I just wanted to say, like, I agree with Shereese about, again, the scene earlier with Carol Marcus. She could have gotten changed before she got in that shuttle. There was no reason for that striptease to happen ever. It was just more nothing.
It was an uncredited Berman rewrite.
Boobs are not nothing. I mean, to be fair, she's got a great figure.
She does. I just wish the directors had some chill.
Did she really do, like, I know she was supposed to be Admiral Marcus's daughter. I mean, she was, but did she contribute anything really, like, plot relevant?
She got bones out
the torpedoes.
She got bones out of that bind when it.
Oh yeah, she got his hand unstuck. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it hadn't been her, it would have been probably Spock going down on this, and he would have been the one to do it. And actually, then it might have been a better thing for like Spock and Bones getting some good interaction.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's another thing. The Spock and Bones repartee. Where is it? The Spock and
They've been doing
repartee. It's gone. It's just
that's one of the only things I like about the next movie. There's a lot of that good banter between the two.
Yeah, they did. The next movie does a good job of pairing people up and like giving interesting comedy.
The appeal of TOS to me mainly is the repartee between the three, and it's like they just don't really do that in this movie at all.
No, Star Trek V is better in almost every way, actually, than this movie.
Oh, this movie needed marshmallows.
It did. I would give it an extra 0.25 point just for marshmallows. I absolutely would. we're gonna toast it over the remains of fucking San Francisco from the ship crashing into it. Like, man, that is some, woo, that was some gore.
Yeah, that's
Luckily, there were no
some
ships in range to help out, though.
Oh, did anybody think that
Also-
the fight between Khan and Spock towards the end reminded you of like Legolas? Like just so
Yes,
unlikely in like The Hobbit, I mean.
in the worst way. Yes.
If I didn't
Figures.
tune out for
Those.
most of it, maybe. I love the convenience of that. All this stuff is like, we can't beam anyone up, but we can definitely beam someone down. Happened like 3 times this movie.
Yeah, that tracks, I guess, because of the plot. All right, I'm going to take this as a good time to go to out of tens. Maybe we can get out here before an hour.
Oh crap!
Oh man. So, well, I like this one more than the motion picture. I like this one less than 5. I think that like a 2.5. It's better than Insurrection. At least Uhura gets something to do. This is objectively even versus the small child-sized con we get in Strange New Worlds for minutes. This is still the worst con. Yeah. You bring some great actors together and you give them fuck all to do. 2.5. Go ahead, Scott.
Fair. I cannot think of a lot of things that I like about this movie. Except maybe that there's just the teeniest bit of ship porn at one point and it goes away, so they know how to use it sparingly. But yeah, besides that and decent acting and the fact that it is very clearly a Star Trek movie as opposed to like Section 31 where you can't really tell. That's a 2.
I mean, I was going to try to come up with something positive to say, aside from the fact that the actors, I mean, it's not really different from the first one. The actors do a good job playing their roles for the most part, which is a carryover from the first movie. I think it was Robbie in the chat who was saying that he would have liked to see these people actually given a show to flesh out these versions of the characters. That could have been something inside instead of being like wooden cutouts for a spectacle on the big screen, something that wasn't really anything in other than name Star Trek. It had, backdrops that looked sort of like Star Trek. It had costumes that looked kind of like Star Trek, but none of the content, none of the impact, and none of the emotion that really drives a Star Trek film. And luckily they learned their lesson in this one and hired a Fast and the Furious director for the third one. So what could go wrong? But probably have to give this, I don't know. I would want to give it lower, but I guess a 2 is fair enough.
I was just so relieved to not be nauseated by the cinematography. That's like such a low bar though, because the plot has a ton of holes. Almost none of the characters' motivations feel sincere. Everything super feels forced and references movies that are much better than this one. And the worst kind of conversation is remember when. So I did enjoy, I think the cast's charm, similar to what Win Gray said in the first Kelvinverse movie, is like the cast's charm carries the movie. And I think it's even more the case here. So like 2.5. I think it's more popcorny than the other one. Yeah.
I will also give this movie a 2.5. I hate this movie. I've hated this movie for years. Just passionately. I think it's my least favorite Star Trek movie just because I actually liked the 2009 one, honestly, and waited a while for this one and was excited for it and saw it in theaters and then was really disappointed. It honestly, like, I dislike this movie so much it made me like Benedict Cumberbatch less, and I was like deep into like Super Hulock around this time, so like I really liked Benedict Cumberbatch going into this movie and liked him less coming out of it. And it's not even his fault. I just hated the movie that much. It has just enough redeemable about it to make me angry about the little bits and pieces that could have made a better movie, but overall is so much less than the sum of its parts that it's like shocking. It's shockingly badly written. It has nothing Star Trek to say about Star Trek, and it wastes all of these perfectly cast characters that actually could have done, like, been so amazing in a good story. I hate it. I hate it a lot. Yup.
Wow, that average comes out to more than a full point below our worst average movie before this. A 3.17 for the motion picture. Finally, the motion picture has something that it can feel good about being better than. And actually, I totally agree with that. Ish. I don't know. Actually, I kind of like this better than the motion picture. Only because of the action. At least there's something going on. Though, I mean, as we'll see next week, my problem is the action. Beyond is just a series of action shots that never stops. But we'll get there next week. And I feel different literally every time I watch Beyond. Maybe I'll love it this time. I don't know.
Tune in next week to see if they waste another famous British actor in a role.
But I know we haven't exactly talked about what we're going to do after the movies are done, finally. Like, oh my God, this has been a 13-week slog, and there's still 1 week left in it to review the movies. It started strong, and now I'm just like, I'm already burnt out, and these movies are not good towards the end. But I think we really need to get into something that everybody loves, except for maybe me. TNG's The Inner Light. We're going to talk about TNG's The Inner Light in 2 weeks after we get through of Star Trek Beyond. So I hope everybody here will join me. And I would like to thank you all for joining me today here. And for all of you who have tuned in. So, till we see you again,